One of the easiest ways to add emotional punch to your chord progressions is through the use of mode mixture. This technique is super easy once you get the hang of it. And all the music theory background that's needed is a little bit of understanding of major and minor scales. In today's video, we're going to look at one of my favorite examples of the use of mode mixture in popular music. And we'll talk about some of the music theory behind it. Be sure to stick around until the end of the video because I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks on using mode mixture in your own harmonic progressions to give it that powerful emotional weight. But before we get started, I want to make sure to remind everyone to subscribe to the channel because I release a video every week on a different music theory concept that I think you'll really find valuable. Let's dive in. Okay, we're going to look at one of my favorite examples of really any music. I love this song. It's the introduction to Desperado by the Eagles. Such a great harmonic progression. There's a lot of harmonic variety in this tune. There are three chromatic chords. Did you spot them? There's the G7 in the first measure, there's the A7 in the last measure, and then in the second measure we have that C minor chord. The first and the last one, those are secondary dominants. And check out the link in the description for another video on secondary dominants. But for today's purpose, we're going to focus on that C minor chord that's in measure 2. We don't have C minor in the key of G major. So by using that, we're actually invoking the G minor scale for just a moment, borrowing that chord, and it makes that chord really stand out from the chord progression. It makes it quite emotionally heavy. I feel like it brings a lot of melancholy to that chord progression. So it's really useful in those cases when we want to kind of make it a little bit more emotionally intense. So let's define what we're talking about here. Mode mixture or modal borrowing, these are the same thing, is when a chord progression contains a chord from a parallel mode. In the example we just heard, the Eagles used a C minor chord in a G major piece. That C minor chord is the minor 4 chord, which is borrowed from the parallel minor from G minor, which has a minor 4 chord. Since the minor 4 chord is not native to the key of the piece, G major, and it's taken from a parallel mode, this is an example of mode mixture. While there are many possibilities for mode mixture, we tend to see the use of the minor 4 chord in place of the major 4 chord as by far the most common type of mode mixture, but we're going to look at a bunch of different ways in which mode mixture can be accomplished. And we can use a lot of different chords from a parallel minor key. So in order to understand mode mixture in more detail, we're going to have to understand this concept of parallel modes. Let's look at two scales side by side, C major and C minor. C major has 0 sharps and flats. C minor has 3 flats, but they both have the same tonic note, C. So these are said to be parallel modes. There are so many different modes out there, but we tend to think about mode mixture as using the major and the minor. There are only 3 pitches that are different between two parallel modes. Those are the 3rd scale degree, the 6th scale degree, and the 7th scale degree. And those scale degrees are all lowered by a half step in the minor version of that scale. So if we're simply using mode mixture in a melodic context without having to think really hard about the chords, we can just simply use these pitches, the lowered 3rd, 6th, and 7th scale degree, and this would be an example of mode mixture. But as soon as we start thinking about how to harmonize with these notes, then we have a lot more options. Okay, so now let's look at the different chords, at least with just triads, between a major key and a minor key. And you can see that every one of the 7 triads that you have that are built on each member of the scale include at least one of these different pitches. there are a lot of options in terms of borrowing from a parallel mode. One of the mode mixture chords that I really love to use is actually using the 2 diminished triad or the 2 half diminished 7th chord in place of the 4 chord. It really gives it a little bit more mystery to it. Check out this example. Two from the minor key can also be used as a substitute for 2 in the major key. So these are pretty interchangeable. Okay, and one case of mode mixture that we cannot leave aside is that modal progression flat 6, flat 7, 1. Super effective, and you've probably heard it in a lot of video game music. It sounds like this. Here it is in context. Okay, so you want to use mode mixture in your own music. The easiest way to go about this is to write a completely diatonic chord progression and then just use some of these minor keys from the minor mode, from the parallel minor mode, and substitute them. The easiest one is taking minor 4 and it can replace major 4 in any progression. But if you want to experiment, try using some of these other chords like flat 3 or flat 6. Remember, these chords can work pretty interchangeably with their major key or diatonic equivalents, but I would caution you to use them sparingly. They do carry a lot of weight, just like secondary dominants. So a little goes a long way. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you like this video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss one of the Sound Theory Academy videos. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.